Hello everyone, Exacto here, back to talk about the next entry in our Riftbound A to Z series. We've done Ari, we have done an Annie series, we've done an Azir series. So that means next on our list is, drum roll please, Darius. So as always, let's start off by taking a look at the Darius Legends to try and get a quick idea of what maybe his deck is going to be all about and how he's going to play the game. So Darius, Hand of Noxus, is the red Fury and the yellow Order domain, and his legend ability says tap at reaction speed, Legion, add 1. Add 1 rune energy. Legion, of course, is a thing that says abilities. Legion, of course, is an ability that is activated only when you play your second card of the turn. So that gives a real quick window into what Darius wants to do. He wants to be playing multiple cards, at least 2 per turn, taking advantage of his ability to kind of ramp you into more higher energy plays by playing multiple cards per turn. So let's take a look real quick at his champion units here. We have the red Darius Trifarian for 5 and a red power. You get a 5 might unit that says when you play your second card in a turn, give me +2 might this turn. So again, that is the Legion ability without the Legion keyword. He wants to be playing multiple cards per turn, and then you have the yellow Darius. For 6 and a yellow power, you get a 6 might unit that says Legion, when you play me, ready me. And that says get the effect if you've played another card this turn, and he has the static ability other friendly units have +1 might. Here. Okay, so all of this is to say that Darius is an aggro-minded deck. He wants to be playing multiple cards per turn and taking advantage of that Legion or that reaction speed Legion ability to get extra mana to play those cards. So let's take a quick look at where Darius is on the meta list. And honestly speaking, you gotta scroll down a pretty far way to find Darius. He is all the way here, lower even than the Ari choice is Darius down here. He has a 52% win rate. He's considered a tier 3 deck, so this is by no means a meta choice as things stand right now in the Riftbound meta. However, that is not to say that it is impossible for Darius or players playing the Darius deck to do well in tournaments. And we see that by our deck example that we are looking at to use for these series of games. This is a deck from RQ Hartford created by a player, a Sip Tofu, and he went all the way in this really big tournament. He got 26th place playing with a Darius deck. So how did he do that? Let's take a look. He is playing 24 units, a heavy unit suite, 2 gear, and some spells. And we're going to take a look at his deck list closer right now. We are going to be using this exact deck list for our A to Z series. And we're also going to be given some insight into card choices from an interview that Asip Tofu did on a YouTube channel that I will link in the comments to say where I've got some information from these cards. So let's take a look. Okay, so we already talked about the Darius Legend ability. The chosen champion is the red Darius card. This is just a card that he'll come in if he's the second card played, or if he sees the second card being played this turn. He comes in as a 7 might ready unit. Very nice to push into battlefields with that big boost of might, kind of on demand as your champion. So let's take a look at those units. Like I said, there are 24 units, very heavy on the unit. And what Asip Tofu said in his interview is that he wants to play a lot of 2-drops, and he wants to back it up by... I'll give an outline of what he said as an answer. An ideal turn sequence for this deck starts with a 2-drop on turn 1, and then on turn 2, you play another 2-drop, and then follow that up with another unit, most likely one of the 3 drops taking advantage of Darius's legend ability to get more mana as you play your second card. So let's see what he's playing for his 2-drops. He is playing 3 copies of Gem Jammer, a 2-drop 2 might unit that says when you play me, give a unit ganking this turn. That is going to come in handy when we look at the gear that Asip Tofu chose for his deck. Another set of 2-drops, only 2 this time, is Honest Broker. 2-drop 2 might unit that says when I die, play a gear gold token exhausted. A gold gear token exhausted, which will help to play the power cost for some of these spells we will see. Otherwise, just a good value 2-drop that you don't really mind seeing die. He's playing 3 copies of Inferna. Inferna we've already experienced a little bit with the Annie deck. It is a really nice, really aggressive 2-drop that helps take battlefields. She doesn't hold on the battlefields that well, but man, she does help push opponents off them when you're on the offense. And then 3 copies of Trifarian Glory Seeker, 2-drop for 2 might that says if you have the Legion effect, meaning if this gets the effect if you play this is your second card this turn, when you play me, buff me. It's a little bit bigger if she comes in as the second card. So that is a grand total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 2-drops. They really, really want to get on the board early and often. So let's keep progressing here. He's playing 1 copy of Rek'Sai Breacher, another aggressive red unit. It has the option of playing an additional 1 energy and 1 power to enter ready. It gets +1 when it's an attacker from its assault ability, and it has the static ability friendly units played from anywhere other than a player's hand have accelerate. Okay, great. This one, the Vanguard Captain, was talked about a lot in the Sip Tofu's video. Now, what it says is it's for 3 energy and 1 yellow power. You get a 3 might unit that if you have the Legion effect activated, you play 2 1 might recruit unit tokens here when you play this card. So, if, like I was saying, you start your turn 1 with a 2-drop, and then on turn 2 you play another 2-drop, you can then play Vanguard Captain to get a total 5 might on the board, which is a big amount to add when you're ramping it with Darius's Legion ability and getting 5 energy worth of units on the battlefield as early as turn 2. It will also combo with one of the battlefield choices, which I will talk about when we get to the battlefields. But this was a card that they really spoke highly of that I hadn't seen myself, and that I'm very intrigued to play here to see really how good is this bringing 2 guys along with him. I envision it's pretty good. Moving along, 3 copies of Kaisa. What red deck would leave home without playing Kaisa Survivor? They seem to not think this was a super vital part of the deck, but I mean it is a good value card that has the option of coming in ready if you play the additional accelerate costs, and of course when she conquers you get to draw, so you get a little bit of card economy back when you use her. Now, if you don't have Vanguard Captain as your follow-up to your first 2-drop on your turn 2 play, you want to have Noxus Hopeful. Noxus Hopeful is a 4-drop 4 might unit that says if you have Legion, it costs 2 less. So you could reasonably go on turn 2 with your 4 runes, play a 2-drop for 2, and then follow it up with Noxus Hopeful, and you have added a ton of might to the board, ready to tangle the next turn with the opponent. They're also playing 2 copies of Vi Peacekeeper, the Big Stunner, and 1 copy of Ferris Forerunner, a 6-drop for 1 red power that is a 6 might unit, but when it dies, you get to play 2 3-power mech units at your base. Really hard card to deal with outside of some options in certain colors that you would take this out to play a different option here. He mentioned specifically Star-Crossed is really good against Ferris Forerunner, as well as anybody playing LeBlanc, which we saw when we played our Annie games how they're able to steal or copy Ferris Forerunners and keep the mechs when their thing dies. So you'd take them out in those decks, obviously. The spell suite: 2 copies of Cleave, the good aggressive card that lets you take battlefields. 3 copies of Rally the Troops. Now, this is one that I hadn't seen either, but when we consider some of the units we've already looked at, it really makes sense. For 2 energy, you get to say when a friendly unit is played this turn, buff it and draw 1. Now, if we have that as our start to our turn 2, and then we follow up with a Vanguard Captain, my understanding at least is all of those units get buffed when they come in. So not only are you adding 3 +1 +1, you're adding 4 +2 +2. That is a lot to add to the battlefield. I hope I understood that correctly, because that is a very exciting combo for me to try. And not only do you add all that power to the battlefield, you get a draw 1 at the end of it, so it replaces itself from your hand. Seems like a really good card in this deck. We already know about Hidden Blade from our other decks. Kill a unit out of battlefield, its controller draws 2. You always have the option to kill your own, as well as killing the opponent, whichever one benefits you more at the time. Salvage, a little bit of gear hate. Kill a gear, draw 1. Falling Star, a red removal spell for 2 and 2 red power. You get to do this twice, deal 3 to a unit. This can be a nice 2-for-1 if you can take out 2 opponents' units. Maybe you can just point them all at one target and take out something big. Solid removal spell. And then they finish up the spell suite with Call to Glory. For 3, you can play Give a Unit +3 this turn, but as you play this, you may spend a buff as an additional cost. If you do, you ignore the spell's cost. This is, I can't tell you how many times this takes me by surprise when I'm playing a yellow deck. They're tapped out. I think it's safe to move in. Nope, all of a sudden they pick up a buff and one of their units has +3 now. This is a nice surprise card. Like I said, it's caught me several times. So, what I was saying when I talked about the first unit, Gem Jammer, comes into play here with this, in my opinion, super nice card to add to this deck's Blighted Battle Axe. 2 copies of this gear. For 4, you get a gear that says, for 1 and a red, you attach this to a unit and you give the unit +4. That is a massive increase in power for a unit, but it does come at a cost. Now it says at the end of your turn, if the unit didn't conquer this turn, unattach this and deal 4 to the unit that was holding it. So you want to be conquering every turn if you want to keep your units around, if you care about that. Gem Jammer will help you conquer every turn by giving a unit ganking, or at least for the turn he comes in, he gives a unit ganking. But the way Asip Tofu described this is that you want to be you're playing so many units, maybe you can just cycle through who gets to hold the battle axe for each particular turn and just continually use them to conquer battlefields, etc. And again, I keep coming back to this card. Vanguard Captain brings 2 buddies with him. That's a lot of hands to pass around the Blighted Battle Axe. So I am excited. I love a good gear. So I'm excited to put this on my guys and smash through battlefields with them. They also made the interesting point that we saw in our Azir games when a player played an Akshan and used that Akshan to steal one of our important gears, be it a BF sword or a brutalizer or something very impactful, that was a big swing in the opponent's favor. However, Blighted Battle Axe, Akshan doesn't really work that way. If the player plays Akshan and doesn't use him to conquer that turn, well, the Battle Axe falls off and Akshan takes 4. So that is not a good thing for them. Obviously, more experienced players will realize this and not play Akshan against a Battle Axe if they don't have a plan for it. But I was happy to hear that because I just came off our Azir games with guys stealing my gears left and right, and I think, oh yeah, great. can't steal this one. So that's a cool wrinkle to think about. Their battlefields are, I believe they said their game one play was Trifarian War Camp. Units here have +1 might. Now that we're going to go back to them again. Vanguard Captain, if you play a 2-drop, if you win the die roll, play a 2-drop and move in with that 2-drop to conquer Trifarian War Camp first, and then followed up with maybe a 2-drop at your base, and then Vanguard Captain on the Trifarian War Camp, you are adding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 might to a battlefield, and then all of a sudden you have a very strong hold on that battlefield, and the opponent is really behind the 8 ball to try and push you off of that. Very nice play to play something like that in a deck that has a lot of units to take advantage of it. When they are on the play in later games, obviously they go Arena's Greatest, the aggro battlefield to help end the game before the opponents can stabilize. And then when you are on the draw, Seat of Power to try and get some card draw if you can double conquer on one of the later turns. They play an even 6/6 rune split, and in their sideboard, they have a pretty simple plan. 2 copies of Salvage for gear decks, Azir, anything else that's playing a gear. They play a copy of Falling Star to bring in against purple decks to take care of those units. We're going to skip Vengeance for now. They play 2 copies of Ash in case they run into the Dazzling Aurora decks. Ash will help them take the Aurora out before it affects the battlefield. For anyone not playing Rebuke in purple or Star-Crossed in purple, they bring 2 Ferris Forerunners in as well. And then what they mentioned the Vengeance spell was for is if they encounter a Diana deck and Hui gets very big for them, Vengeance is something that will take out Hui. So, all in all, I love aggro decks. They really speak to my play style of wanting to be the one to set the terms of engagement. I am very much looking forward to this. I know that this is not a meta deck, so my expectations aren't really high for how much we will win. But I'm going to be doing my hardest to at least avoid an 0-5. If we go 0-5, be that as it may. But we're going to give it our all to try and see how Darius' strategy of going wide and puking out cards, see how it turns out. Okay, so if you enjoy the content, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I really appreciate all the engagement, and I will see you all in the games in the next video.